A remarkable thing happened last week. The provinces and the feds quickly and quietly hammered out an agreement to expand the Canada Pension Plan. It doesn't promise to do as much as the Made in Ontario plan Premier Kathleen Wynne was set to launch next year. Instead, the Ontario plan is now dead and enhanced CPP lives. To explain it all, we welcome Ontario's Minister of Finance and the MPP for Mississauga South. There's Charles Sousa. Welcome back to TVO.
Thank you.
It's always nice to have you here in person. Usually we get you on the line on Budget Day.
It's actually good for me because I get to see you face to face.
Hear, hear. Amen to that. Let's just share some of these details, which you know all too well, with our viewers. If you would, bring these up. Sheldon, beginning in 2019, monthly contributions for workers earning $55,000 will be increased by $7. By 2023, those increases go up to $34 a month. Maximum benefits will be increased from $13,100 to almost $17,500. Maximum income covered by CPP from almost $55,000 to almost $83,000. Let's start with just very general first principles. What was the problem that you saw that you think this solution solves?
So what we're trying to address is the challenge of undersaving that's occurring. And it's not about what's happening today, it's what's going to happen 10, 20 years from now. Keep in mind that retirement security is based on three major pillars. One is defined benefit plans or defined contribution plans in the workplace, much of which is now leaving. It's not as defined benefit plans are becoming fewer and fewer all the time. The other one is voluntary measures, RSPs, TFSAs, and that's not being taken advantage of to the extent that that's available to them. In fact, it's being underutilized. And the third is equity in people's homes and assets they have. And we know the challenges that people are facing today relative to home ownership. So given all those that are occurring in the years to come and the degree of undersaving, 75% of young people don't even have any savings accounts. 2/3 of Ontarians don't have a workplace pension. So given that risk that's upon us, we wanted to be able to address it.
Why does this solution meet your satisfaction?
Well, there's a couple of things here. It's about addressing those that are making money up to $80,000. For example, today, CPP only goes up to $56,000. The maximum you can attain in CPP if you fully fund it is $13,000. Well, we know that today that's inadequate. Many seniors who I meet with are constantly telling me that it's not enough. What this is going to do is almost provide an additional 50% more savings to those seniors when they retire in the years to come, and that's a huge benefit. Right now, CPP gives you about 25% of your income, replacement value up to $56,000. What we're changing is to give you 1/3 replacement value up to $80,000 and more.
So people pay more, but they will get more. And I guess a logical question that stems from that is, why not encourage people to save more rather than force them to save more?
We do. In fact, we got to remember, this is just a floor. CPP enhancement isn't the answer to your retirement security. It's only a component part of it. And I introduced in a budget 2 budgets ago, the PRPP. We've introduced measures for RSP contributions as well as TFSAs, which the federal government has provided, giving ample more room.
I'm stopping you right there. This is an acronym-free zone. So you can't say PRPP and TFSA and all this business without telling us what it is.
Pool retirement pension plans, as well as the tax-free savings accounts. Okay. And so it's important that these measures be available to people so that they can foster greater improvement and greater savings.
I always thought the stumbling block to your getting to the finish line on this was a guy named Brad Wall, the Premier of Saskatchewan, who was simply not on side from as far back as I can remember. Eventually, he agreed. What got him to yes?
Steve, when we went through the negotiations, and this took weeks and weeks prior to the actual meeting in Vancouver, in fact, I issued a letter to my colleagues sort of providing a blueprint about the compromises that Ontario would be making in order to find enhancement of CPP. Saskatchewan was always saying, you know what, we're not interested. Times are tough. We recognize the economy is volatile. Certainly those that are accommodating the commodity shocks, oil prices. So Alberta, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland, they're going through some challenges now. So that's their priority. So for them, this isn't seen as something that was as critical, recognizing the concerns, mind you, but they felt they wanted to postpone it further. I was extremely encouraged, though, throughout the whole process, the open and ongoing dialogue that was made, and their agreement that they know that there was something that needs to be done. And it was very gratifying to hear the Minister of Finance for Saskatchewan say mid-afternoon, looking right at me, says, if you move the goalposts by 1 year, meaning if you start in 2019 instead of 2018 and go to 225 instead of 224 in terms of full implementation for that escalation, we want to be in.
Why was that the difference?
I think they recognized the importance and that it was a graduated engagement, that it wasn't going to affect businesses and the economy all at once, that we wanted to be very modest at the beginning, and having a long lead time when EI payments come off so businesses won't be as impacted was a strong indication to them that this can be done without impacting the economy and the well-being of the business that we're trying to attract.
What it's meant, of course, is that the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan, which you guys had campaigned on and got, presumably to some extent got elected on, is not going to happen. I wonder whether you have any regrets about the fact that that more generous, richer pension plan won't happen.
Well, keep in mind, what we want was improved retirement security. That was our primary goal all along. And in 2013, when I was out in Meech Lake with my counterparts, we all had agreement around the table, except for the federal government of the day, who didn't even want to open that discussion.
This was Harper.
This is under Stephen Harper. And so all provinces agreed that something had to be done in time. And that's what we proceeded to do. So ORPP became a solution for Ontario. The Ontario Retirement Pension Plan was our alternative, lacking leadership at the federal level at the time. We came to acknowledge that we wanted retirement security for those that didn't have a workplace pension. That's what ORPP was. Basically, it was a mandatory pension plan in Ontario. You're a business, you have to have a pension plan. Now, you can have a pension plan, a defined benefit, defined contribution, be it what it may, and if you don't have any of those, well, you got the Ontario Pension Plan as an alternative. And it was very targeted to those that didn't have one. Going forward, however, it's preferable to have a pension plan that's portable across Canada so that individuals that move around will always have the same benefit as they would, whereas the Ontario Pension Plan was specific to those that qualified. The other thing is it's fully universal. So everyone's treated equally. And that has huge benefits. Also, there's tax benefits with CPP enhancement, whereas ORPP wouldn't have it. And it doesn't take away your room for RSPs and other contributions, which the ORPP would take advantage of. So that was important.
You know this guy, Jack Mintz?
I certainly do.
I bet you know Jack Mintz. He says this is a huge come down for the Ontario government, getting a little less than half a loaf. Perhaps Ontario finally realized that the ORPP was poorly thought out. Yes?
Well, the ORPP was certainly the impetus by which to have this done. Had the ORPP not been established, had we not proceeded to find solutions to the problem, and had we not had the engagement and discussions with the public, we wouldn't be at a point in time where the rest of the country says, you know what, we need to institute something very quickly. Ontario will proceed without us. Minister Mintz, though, fails to recognize that what we've done is offer a grander solution for all of Canada, recognizing, too, that we're now going to provide an increase in the CPP, which is lacking today, and he doesn't take into consideration all the tax consequences and all the other things I just mentioned in respect to the ORPP.
Well, he's a pretty respected economist. I think he does take all that into account. In fact, he says overall this CPP expansion is teeny, neither much helping nor hurting Canadians, but the expansion could have been targeted to modest-income Canadians with a better treatment of survivor benefits to assist single seniors. Is he right about that?
Well, the ORPP did have survivor benefits,
but
and
this one doesn't.
And this one does not, or at least it hasn't been instituted, and it's something that we did discuss during our meeting at Vancouver.
So, in some respects, this is a second-best choice for Ontarians.
Well, it's about Canadians now. And what we're trying to do is provide greater support for all of Canada. Certainly for Ontario, it's going to provide greater benefit for those that are working and certainly for our young people who otherwise wouldn't be taking advantage of added savings.
Ottawa citizen columnist Randall Denley, who, full disclosure, former Conservative candidate in previous elections, has written the following. He says, sure, we have a lagging economy, a lack of meaningful work for young people, a healthcare system that's squeezed, a federal government that can't even pay its own workers promptly, and an Ontario provincial government that mismanages, well, everything. But let's not be distracted by the transient problems of today. Let's cast our minds ahead to the problems today's teenagers might face when they retire more than 4 decades from now. I guess his view is this doesn't really do a heck of a lot to improve Ontario's economy today. Absolutely, the 20-somethings are going to be the biggest beneficiaries of this down the road. Is that fair to say?
Many of the seniors that I talk to recognize that all too well. We know that this is not for them. It's not going to be for you either. It's going to be for your kids. And that's what we're trying to support, and that is important. When the CPP was first introduced back in the 60s, it was doom and gloom. Everything was going to fall apart. Today, no one can imagine not having the CPP in place. And all we're doing is enhancing it for the benefit of future generations.
Do you have a price tag, roughly, on how much the Ontario government has spent bringing the ORPP forward to date?
One of the things that were essential for me in this meeting was to come out of it with an agreement. Because if we didn't have an agreement, then the Ontario government would proceed with the ORPP, because we made a commitment to the people that we would provide added security for their retirement. That would engage us into a service provider, which would require us making an agreement that would cost a lot of money. Now, it would have been incurred by the incorporation of the ORPP, and it would be amortized over a long period of time.
How much would that have been?
Oh, I don't want to speculate, but
I can tell you.
Go ahead.
Billions, right?
Absolutely.
$2 billion.
It would be a substantive amount. That is what we avoided doing, because we want to make certain that all of Canada had the greater benefit.
So whatever tens of millions may have been spent to date to get the ORPP to where it is, how would you characterize that money?
Well, we are dealing with billions of investments that are going to be made within years now because of the increase to the CPP. The amounts that have been invested to establish a corporation and the establishment of the platform will be costs incurred, nowhere near, though, that would have been incurred had we not made this decision.
Are you?
But it's an investment. And kudos to the Premier, Steve, because she stood by this thing in a big way, recognizing how important it was to enable us to have CPP enhancement. That was always our first choice.
Yes, you've said that. It always was the first choice. So it makes me wonder whether or not, are you a poker player?
I have dabbled in poker.
You have dabbled? So you tell me, was this sort of a poker player's bluff, the ORPP, from the beginning?
Everyone was holding their cards pretty tight throughout the last number of months, even during our last meeting in December from around Canada. We made it very clear that what we wanted to do, and so we opened up our cards and we let everybody play in a way that I think in the end is going to have a bigger pot for everyone to join.
I don't know this for sure, but I'm betting this is the case, since we're into the mode of gambling here again. I'm thinking you probably have not heard more complaints about any one thing than corporations, small businesses, the people who would have had to implement the ORPP saying, please don't do this, we hate this, this is not going to be good for our business, we can't afford this, etc. By accepting the bigger CPP enhancement, as opposed to having to go forward with the Ontario pension plan, did you just dodge a huge political bullet? I
think businesses that would have been impacted by the ORPP would have been those that don't have a defined benefit plan or a defined contribution plan. So, and it would only impact initially the larger businesses. It too would have been graduated over a period of time. And it too would also have been offset by EI payments and other things. I think they would have actually been unique in Canada, saying that every business in Ontario offers a defined benefit plan or a defined contribution plan.
I don't think they love that idea, though.
No, but in the end, the attraction for employment and people would have been probably enhanced as well. In the end, we always took into consideration the economic impact of what we were doing, and we took those into consideration as we proceeded with the ORPP and now with the CPP enhancement as well.
I'm going to take that as a yes. You dodged a bullet, didn't you?
We have not only given Canadians a better opportunity for retirement security.
You're not going to play with me here.
We are also offering businesses the opportunity to phase in over a longer period of time.
Okay. I know you can't solve all the world's problems while standing on one foot one weekend in Vancouver. However, the agreement you came to in Vancouver does not help people who take time off work, who are still disproportionately women. What can be done to ensure that there is stability in retirement, in particular for lower income people, in particular maybe for women who disproportionately face these burdens?
So some of the things that that's being introduced is also the workplace income benefit that's going to be provided to enhance and support WITB for those low income individuals. There are other programs that'll be provided over time, but keep in mind, those low-income individuals oftentimes are young people who are having multiple jobs and they're going through transitions themselves. You want them to accrue some of those benefits early in life, and to not allow that, which is what some have suggested, would hurt them long-term. So in the end, WITB is an offset and a mitigating factor for that.
I know you have said that one of your top priorities is job creation. And I have to ask how making payroll taxes on businesses that hire people higher helps spur on job creation?
Well, keep in mind, CPP enhancement and impact are very modest at the start. And when they do come on, there are offsets already taking place. It's good for businesses, though, to enable their employees to be treated in a way that's going to give them comfort. And it also makes Canada a place with a strong reputation to provide for investment. And listen, we have been increasing employment, over 600,000 net new jobs since the recession of 2009. We have become the top destination for foreign direct investment for new business all over the world looking to Ontario. We are taking the necessary steps to stimulate growth. We have partnerships with the Business Growth Initiative Plan that I introduced in the last budget and with the Jobs and Prosperity Fund to attract some of those businesses. It's happening. And we have a very diversified economy that allows Ontario to weather some of the shocks that exist out in the world, in the global forces, and Ontario's faring well as a result. So businesses are winning, our employees are winning, and ultimately our future generation are going to thank us for what we did.
I thought this was a commercial-free television station. Okay, Minister, it's good of you to come into TVO tonight. That's Charles Sousa, MPP Mississauga South, the Ontario Minister of Finance. Appreciate you coming in and talking about the CPP/ORPP story.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.